I'm not certain. Like I told Steve, we'll at least get the updates on and going, and I hope that you're able to share your screen, Amir.
All right, I'm gonna try that. Um,
I hit share settings, but there's nothing here that says to allow participants to share, and I don't know why. So it's really weird.
no, it did not work. Host has disabled screen sharing. So if you go to
Share at the bottom, right?
no, you have to go to settings.
Okay.
Sorry.
Settings.
And it should say allow participants or someone else to share screens.
Doesn't say that.
Um, Sorry, I'm trying to find. It's been a while. On Zoom, you're like, okay, how does this work again?
Right. Recording, share screen. Wow, the share stuff that doesn't give me that option. Mode.
I don't remember.
Good
Well,
morning, you guys. What are you trying to figure out?
Nick, do you remember
Screen
how
share.
to allow participants to share screens on Zoom?
Um,
I'm trying to remember how that works.
Do you make them a co-host up
yeah,
in the
that's
top right-hand corner?
Let's see.
Deanna, would you make Amir a co-host so then he could share the screen?
I don't.
Let's
yeah, I
check
think that would
that.
be the best approach.
Yeah, that might be the
So if you
easiest.
just click on like participants, I think you can through the participants section, I think you can make them a host.
Okay. Yeah. Wow.
It's okay, Deanna. Stace will be back in 2 weeks.
Okay. I just clicked on to make you the host, Amir. So you, let's see, hold on. Okay, try that now.
Okay. Oh, it's under security. Allow participants to share screens. Okay.
Security.
And that worked.
You're good?
Yep, I'm good.
Yay!
Great. Yay. All right, guys. There's nobody here, so this is truly a remote meeting today.
Who do we have on Lisa, Julie, Nick? Morning, Johnny, Montserrat. Um, Hi, Kathy.
Hello. I'm in Copenhagen.
Wow,
Wow.
that's awesome.
Just spent the afternoon with a girlfriend I hadn't seen in 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Here in Copenhagen, and Stacy is on a well-deserved vacation on her way to cruise the Rhine. So she's on her way
Wow.
to Switzerland right now to start her cruise.
That's nice. Yeah. These cruises are pretty relaxing.
Yeah.
So
That's great.
Deanna and Amir, what are we doing here? It sounds like we're supposed to be on a cruise or something too.
I tell you, I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
Well, Nick, you will notice that I have a fake background because I don't want you to see the beach behind me. So that's
Ah, sure, I love it.
all right. Let's get started. Um, Deanna, you anything that you want to start with in particular?
Well, you have Nick first up here on the agenda. He can give a Thule Trust update. Then I would go into our updates and just
Okay,
move to that.
perfect. I'm trying to pull up the agenda as we're talking. Thank you, Nick.
Yeah, sure. Not really too much to to share this week. I know we gave some updates last week. Just want to appreciate again the board's approval of the economic analysis. And so I've been working with our legal team to get together kind of a contract that we can put together for each of the GSAs and have that signed with the trust. And then from there, I should be able to move forward with contracting ERA economics. And so really excited of what that economic analysis is going to, well, maybe not excited of what it's going to show us, but excited about how we can use those findings to get some dollars down here and maybe open some eyes. And then I'm sure you guys have seen this, and I know quite a few of us have been having conversations around the RCPP, and so that actually just went live yesterday. So they opened up the portal for RCPP funding. The trust is talking with a lot of partners around how we might be able to collaborate on that, and so definitely interested in how we can collaborate with Tri-County as well. Um, Other than that, too, I mean, we're also waiting to hear back from CDFA on whether we were successful in the pre-application phase for those healthy soils and sweep grants. Because if we are able to get those, then we're going to have some pretty considerable match funding would go towards an RCPP. So that's kind of what we're looking at. I don't think it's anything like rocket science, brand new, too innovative, but I mean, we're looking at rangeland conversion, how we can support dairies, irrigation efficiencies, and then I'm also trying to figure out how we can weave some native plant production in there as well, whether through pollinators or something else. So that's kind of what we're thinking of, but just would love to, either today or some other time, kind of continue the discussion about how we might be able to approach this. And I think that's pretty much all I got, unless you guys have questions about other things for me.
Not seeing any, Nick. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to give you guys an update, although I suspect many of you may have heard this at our board meeting. So give me a second. I will get this going. Okay, Dan, I assume you guys can see my screen okay?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay. So, quick update on the Tule Subbasin. And I think, this group has heard this before, but we are doing a single groundwater sustainability plan for the subbasin now. We are following kind of the Delta Mendota model, and that we've got multiple consultants working on multiple issues, and you can see some of the technical working groups presented there. Each of the consultants are working together. The person listed, or the group that is listed, is the lead on it. All the other consultants then are helping them, and they're coordinating. We're having regular bi-weekly meetings of almost every one of these groups. In fact, Dan and I literally just minutes ago got off the Land Subsidence EKI led team. You can imagine some of these have some pretty intense discussions. There's some very frank conversations going on about how we should do it, what the approach for the subbasin should be, what the impacts are going to be to the subbasin. How are we addressing all of these? Are we making sure that we've addressed all of the beneficial users and uses for each one of these as well? The one thing that I realize I forgot again is the groundwater monitoring network. Well, the monitoring network's not just groundwater, but water quality and land subsidence monitoring network is actually being done by Geosyntec, and we're taking the lead on that for the technical working group for the subbasin. And then we've got members of our team on each one of these working groups as well. The idea, of course, is the working groups are going to come up with some solutions. We're going to run them and propose some language back to the state, obviously to the GSA managers, get feedback, and then each of these consultants are then going to prepare their chapter of the or section of the GSP, the revised GSP. The water quality one is probably the one that's closest to being done right now, but there's actively work being done on every one of these, and there's, like I said, regular meetings occurring. Deanna, feel free to add anything that you think might be relevant for the group.
No, I don't have anything right now.
Yeah.
I'm messing with settings in here, so sorry.
Hey, Amir.
Yes.
At this early stage of it, and I know you said I think only the water quality is the farthest along, but do you feel like everyone's kind of buying into this data, and in terms of like the alignment and what the findings are and all of that?
Well, Nick, that's a great question. There's a lot of frank discussion going on. These are the consultants talking, but they're cordial, they're respectful. There are definitely some different opinions that we have to overcome still. So the idea, of course, is the consulting groups and the technical working groups are going to take our recommendations back to the GSA as a whole, the GSA managers as a whole, in that policy group that the Tule Subbasin has set up and be able to resolve. So, part of this is to be able to present a unified front to the state as well. So
Sure.
yeah, I would say that the land subsidence, of course, is one of the more ongoing discussions and one of the more lively discussions. That's one of the biggest challenges that the subbasin has. So we may not have come to a consensus just yet, but I think after each meeting, it's maybe getting a little bit closer and closer. I don't want to say that everything is wine and roses, but on the other hand, there's these are difficult issues, right? And we're trying to get to that consensus point for the subbasin as a whole, so that there's one methodology.
Okay. Yeah, no, that sounds good, and definitely no easy task. So that's why I was just curious about it. And um it sounds like progress is being made, so
Progress is
people
being
are doing
made.
what they can. Yeah,
Yeah, progress is definitely being made on all of these fronts.
cool. Thank you.
Okay. A few more updates for everyone. I think you're all aware the State Water Board issued a surface water records request to both the Tule and the Tulare Lake subbasin. Natalie Stork sent out an email that asked us to provide information on going back to 2020 and who's done some recharge. It also asked about who's pumped some of that water out. And that data set they've asked the GSAs to provide that by the 1st of July. We've been reaching out to Natalie and her team for the better part of a week and a half now, asking for some clarification on exactly what they want. We've got a meeting set up with her at 11 o'clock tomorrow, and we're just trying to figure out exactly what the GSAs are expected to provide, the format, and make sure that we're all clear. I do think this affects the Tule subbasin more, most likely than Tulare Lake. I think it has to go back to some of the credits that were recorded back in the 23 floods and things of that nature. But we're trying to get some clarification from the state on exactly what that means. And then obviously we're going to work with Deanna to get any information that Tri-County owes the state or can provide the state
the Tule Subbasin is in a meeting right now with Natalie to get clarification. And the original request that was sent, we would have no records that would comply with what they've asked for. They used a statute, and when they wrote to us, they basically said that it was mandated that landowners report their surface water diversions to the GSA. Not really what that code says. So there's some problems with the request, and they requested that we supply those surface water diversions for recharge by years, by each individual landowner's years account, which we don't have individual landowner years accounts. So anyway, that said, we are asking for clarification. Hopefully I'll have more clarification today. Likely Tri-County doesn't have any records that comport with their request anyway, which is what we're likely to write back to them. But if there's something that we can provide them that's reasonable, we certainly will. And we're just waiting to see what those clarifications mean for us.
Yeah. Good. Thank you, Deanna. There was a staff meeting between the Tule Subbasin leads and the State Water Board back on the 2nd of June. There's been some question about exactly what we can release on that, on those discussions. The Tule Subbasin is trying to get some clarification from the state on that. And as soon as we have that, we will get that information out to you. There's nothing earth-shattering. There's no secret discussions. We've been, we just don't have permission as to, or I shouldn't say permission, but clarification from the state about what we can and cannot present on, based on those meetings. So we're just trying to honor their, their requirements. And again, from the discussions we've gotten back from Don Tucker and others, there's been no, there's nothing secret or anything like that in those meetings. The DWR is going around right now. They're meeting with each of the subbasins individually. They're talking about rolling out the subsidence BMP, the best management practices document. So they're meeting with each one of them. The State Water Board, my understanding, has also been invited to those meetings, even in other subbasins. They are certainly obviously invited to ours. And I think that the Tule Subbasin is looking at that meeting roughly in middle of July and end of July for the meeting with Tulare Lake. So they're going to meet individually with Tule and Tulare Lake. And both agencies are going to be there. But the idea, of course, is some input from DWR on how they're viewing requirements that are in the BMPs. And obviously, both of our subbasins are being held to that document as part of the requirements to exit probation. Deanna, do you want anything on the Tule policy group to share with this team?
They did meet on Monday, but I don't have any updates on that meeting or what came out of it.
Okay. The Tule groundwater flow model is continuing as well, work on that. That is also one of the technical working groups that we have. It's obviously being done concurrently as we're doing the groundwater sustainability plan. And so as we get more information, or as there becomes some critical items or anything important to share with this group, we'll let you know. But the work on the groundwater flow model is continuing right now. And then one other point I just want to be clear on. We asked the state a while ago about if they would be making the GEERS data available to us, meaning the GSAs. And they've indicated that they will make it available on the California Open Data Portal. And it's expected sometime later this summer. So we don't have an exact date, but our understanding now is that that information will be made available on that portal. It'll be made available to everybody on that portal as well.
Amir, will that show individual landowner data? How will that?
No, they're gonna go through, yeah, they're gonna go through and scrub all of that type of information. So we don't know exactly what's going to be posted, but the understanding is they will be scrubbing all of the individual identifiers for landowners.
So really, it's just going to give us kind of the total extraction that they received, that was reported.
Yeah, Dan, I'm not 100% sure exactly, and I don't think they're 100% sure just yet. I think they're working through some of those issues, but obviously from the GSA standpoint, for everybody else, we're obviously interested in knowing exactly what the state has, and then obviously what we have, and how do these things match up. So we'll see what's made available, but as I indicated, they're planning on late in the summer. On the Tulare Lake side, one of the big key issues for Tulare Lake and has been establishing a single point of contact between Tulare Lake and the State Water Board, and that person has been selected, and it's actually our very own Stacey Ann Silva, who I don't think Stacey Ann's on this call today, is she?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, I don't see her. So Stacey Ann now, her contract is going to be shared across the sub-basin, so she is representing all 5 GSAs in the Tulare Lake sub-basin. She's already reached out to the state earlier this week and had a brief conversation with the State Water Board. And as I indicated earlier, she's set up the meeting for Tulare Lake with the State Water Board to get some clarifications as well on that data request. Tulare Lake, very similar to Tule, is also doing a single GSP. There's only 2 consultants right now working in the Tulare Lake sub-basin. It's us and Ludorf and Scalamini representing the El Rico. And we are working together to get a revised GSP. And we are now looking at a schedule about March 20 of next year to turn in a draft GSP. We've actually put together a project schedule of how we're going to do that. It incorporates meetings with the state, monthly meetings with the state. The state has not yet agreed to those monthly meetings, so that is one of the things that Stacey Ann and I are working with them to coordinate that and make sure that we have those commitments. It's been obviously a point of contention for Tulare Lake for a long time about the lack of meetings that we've had with the state and the feedback we've gotten from the state. So we've come up with a schedule that's very structured. It's going to give the state opportunity to look at and understand upfront exactly what we're planning on presenting at each one of those meetings, and certain timelines of when we'll get them something to review, and and how much gap before the meeting occurs, and that the state will have their chance to review and take a look at all the information that we're submitting and come back to us with some comments. So if we're going to have this done by March of 27, we've got a lot of ground that we've got to cover. So we've got meetings scheduled between now and February of next year. Well, this kind of says a little bit of the same thing, but I did want to point out that we are some of the issues that we still need to coordinate and we're working through on the Tulare Lake side. these are, all of the discussion items, these are the key items that we are discussing right now. Both, between the consultants and the GSA managers, and some of the decisions that we need to get approved and buy-in from the managers as well. So all of these are in various states of being completed. Again, the water quality item is probably the closest to being done, but each of these is underway, and we have someone working on each one of these issues. The groundwater flow model update is going to also help us address some of the native yield values and how some of those losses are going to be handled and things of that nature. So there's some technical issues that still need to be worked through, obviously, and there's a few policy issues that need to be coordinated as well. This is just to make sure that everyone understands that we're all working together, the LSCE team and Geosyntec. It, again, very similar to what I said about Thule. This indicates who's the lead on a particular chapter of the GSP. But the other consultant then is working very, very closely with the lead, so that, for example, if LSCE is writing basin setting, we're working very closely with them and having regular meetings with them on each one of these topics. And if we're the lead, we're having back and forth, exchanges with them as well. So this is very much a coordinated effort. It is, not just going off and writing your thing and then coming back and saying, here, you're stuck with this. This is ongoing, regular, daily, in some cases, discussions between team members. And the team itself is meeting at least once a week as a whole, just to make sure that we're fully coordinated. On the, concurrent with the groundwater sustainability plan is the groundwater flow model update. We had a kickoff meeting last Friday with the modeling team. Right now, we're scheduled to have the updated model completed by November of 2027, so just a few months. Again, this is not a massive redo of the groundwater model. Instead, what we're doing is updating some missing historical data, and they have provided a list of what that is. So we're reaching out to the individual agencies looking for that data, if it exists. And then secondly, updating the model, including the water years 23, 24, and 25, so that we have the most recent information in the model as well. The output that we're really looking for is the groundwater native yields, and by aquifer and by GSA. So the modeling effort in Tulare Lake is certainly underway, and all of that is being closely coordinated. I think before I leave that and get into the WaterSmart grant, any questions for anyone? And I'm sorry if I can't. I'm trying to see if I can see anybody's hand raised here, but does anyone have any questions or anything they want to clarify? Deanna, I'm not seeing any questions.
Oh, you must have covered it perfectly.
I don't know about that, but at least it's we're up to date on what's going on. Okay. Moving on the agenda then into some good news. So Tri-County has been awarded a Bureau of Reclamation WaterSmart grant. It's $465,000. It's to install meters and telemetry. We had applied for this grant over a year ago at that time, and then subsequently we have our meter policy in place in Tri-County. So a lot of work on the meters has already been done. We know that a lot of our landowners have installed or had existing meters or installed meters. So when we were awarded this just a week or so ago, we got the notice that we were going to be awarded. Deanna and I kind of sat down and said, okay, you know, do we still need this grant? And obviously the answer was yes, because the bottom line is it does allow for us to install telemetry and telemetry units. And so what we're going to use the grant for is to install any meters that need to be replaced, that need to be updated, or if someone is still missing a meter, we can use the grant to install those new meters. And then secondly is coming up with exactly what we want to do for telemetry and then working through the grant to install the telemetry units as well. And that will allow us to then be able to get information without having to ask people to go through and read their meters and, you know, then upload that data to Basin Safe and everything else. So we are looking into those options. Right now, obviously, as you know, Four Creeks is going through and reading each of the meters and driving, driving through and getting that information. So with this grant, we're looking at seeing if it's going to be possible to switch over as much of those wells as we can to some kind of telemetry units, being able to record that data, making sure that we have adequate privacy issues built into the software. We want to be sensitive to what we're actually capturing from each of the landowners and how we're storing that data and then reporting that data out. But as you all know, the pumping issue and exactly when and where and how much and what depth we're pumping from is one of the key issues. And as Troy County has made that switch to move away from the ET data and move exclusively towards meters, this grant is going to be very important for us to be able to do that, make it easier for our landowners and try to get some of our costs under control as well in terms of having to read those meters. We also want to have, you know, as potential water trading markets and other things start to occur, we want to make sure that there's a trust and a comfort level in the data that's being reported. We want to make sure that we understand exactly where the water is being pumped and when that occurs. So, you know, across the year and things of that nature. So there's a lot of good information that we're expecting to get out of this. We're very excited about the fact that, we were awarded this. And then frankly, the other nice thing is that once you win one of these Water Smart grants and you show the Bureau that you're able to handle these grants and can, work with them on that, it frankly makes it that much easier to get other additional grants from the Bureau in the future. So that's one of the things that we're keeping an eye out. This is a grant that was from a year ago, more than a year ago, and there's another round of Water Smart grants coming up here in the next few months as well. So we're looking into what else we may want to request funds for through the program. Deanna, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think that's a good description of where we're at. It was unfortunate that this grant came through so late. We expected it much earlier, and most people, are already metered. And now it's really figuring out, because everybody was capable of putting different types of meters on, what kind of telemetry program, if it's even possible to have a telemetry program that, matches with individual meters. So anyway, there's a little bit of research to be done. It would be fantastic. Luis with Four Creeks has been doing a fantastic job. It would be really good, if a year from now or 2 years from now, that data even, remotely fed into him, even if Four Creeks was still compiling it, that, instead of physically having to go to each individual landowner's property, that it could remote in. So it's exciting, but there's a little bit of work to be done. So we're going to start doing that research and see, you know, if we actually have to replace some meters in order to make this effort work. Yeah, that's where we are.
Yeah, and just to be clear with everybody, we're still in the process of working through we've been awarded the grant, but we've got to go through and get all the paperwork signed and the actual contracts in place and things of that nature. So there's still a number of months and steps that are probably going to happen before we actually see the money and have the contract signed and in place from the Bureau. That's just a reality of when you have to work with the government on grant funds. All right, Deanna, that wraps it up for me. So I'm going to stop sharing. And then I think you have some information from the Land Covenant Program.
Yeah, is Kathy still with us?
Yes, I am.
Kathy's been working on, gathering some information. Pixley and Lower Tule are working on a voluntary land repurposing program, and we are going to try to align very closely with their efforts. I think I've spoke with Travis over there, and we both think that we're stronger together if we have a program that we look coordinated on, where we could go after funding eventually. So Kathy has been kind of putting those things together. We do have a paper that's going to go out that will have some questions still to be answered, and we're going to have to start working through some of these things in order to get this program across the line, and hopefully by fall. But anyway, Kathy, if you'd like to describe what you've been working on, that'd be great.
Sure. I've been running around all day today. Yeah, this is a really exciting, and thanks, Deanna, for the intro. A lot here to unpack as we start working together. But it's kind of a two-pronged approach. Tri-County asked me to put together a Water Year 2027 program where it'd be a pilot program. And I think we introduced that both to the board and to the advisory committee. And generally in this pilot project, it was before we knew about the Pixley. They'd been working on their Pixley project. But what we're actually looking at for this 1 year project, it would be a willing landowner that would forfeit their transitional water, and then a non-irrigation covenant would be placed on a specific piece of land, and they would be paid for, and you'll see these in the questions, we're looking at what would be the compensation for forfeiting their transitional water. And this would be a 1 year pilot project. As I say, it's a kind of a two-pronged approach, because then we would want to start aligning with what Pixley is doing. But we still, I think, Deanna, it might be a good idea to send out the Pixley program as well.
Yes.
But some of the questions that we really would like the advisory committee to look at is, how do we value the water? We're talking about transitional water. They still would be able to use their sustainable yield within their property, but not on this parcel of land. So there's quite a few questions that we just like the advisory committee to look at, and that's specifically for this Water Year 27 proposal. And it's kind of a first come, first serve landowner, voluntary landowner, and Tri-County has $2 million. And we'd like to just see if we have any interest, but also kind of look at how would we form this program long-term within Tri-County, because we're different than Pixley. For the most part, we have a few dairies, we have a few areas where we have silage and land that can be fallowed, But we also, the sun's starting to come in, I'm sorry. But we also have a lot of permanent crops. And so you can't just fallow a piece of land and then bring it back into production. So it's got we have some unique characteristics within Tri-County. So looking forward to hearing back from the advisory committee. We'll send out the proposal as well as the voluntary land repurposing program from Pixley, but want to get your feedback.
Thank you, Kathy. Appreciate that. And I'm sorry that I didn't get these out before this meeting, but they will go out, and we will certainly have a robust discussion about some of the questions that are included in here at the next advisory committee meeting. And like I said, we would like to have something, a pilot program available, to our landowners by the fall. So that's what we're looking at doing. Any questions on that?
I was just going to add one last thing. We're working very closely with the trust. Nick mentioned these RCPPs, the Regional Conservation Partnership Program, which is with NRCS. And the reason, and Nick, I know we can talk a little bit further about it, but the reason we're trying to go to this regional program is individual landowners can go to NRCS and do individual programs like converting their land to grazing, doing some different non-irrigation type projects on their land. Project's not the right word, but doing some other non-irrigation type agriculture. And I think the benefit of going with this RCPP is that it puts the funding with an entity, whether it's a trust or whether it's Pixley or Tri-County, and the landowners then come to the partners in the partnership, and we're able to allocate funding. So we're allocated a larger amount of money to the region, and then it gets allocated back out to the farmers. So rather than an individual landowner going out and trying to go through the process of EQIP and other types of programs through NRCS Farm Bill, this would be a very exciting regional partnership that the trust is really taking a lead on.
Kathy, can you elaborate just because I don't think the folks on this call have had an opportunity to see the Pixley program, or Deanna, maybe can we elaborate a little bit on what the Pixley program covers, and maybe give people a little bit of a taste of what they're of the type of questions that we're going to ask them to review and comment on and get some feedback on.
Sure.
Not to put you on the spot.
No, that's okay. They're looking at land use restriction agreement that is a 20-year restriction. Which would include water use restrictions. Let's see. I have it here in front of me. And then it just has their who's eligible, who's not. We're thinking, lands with transitional water in Tri-County would be eligible for the program. Mm-hmm. We may put some more restrictions around it. I mean, the whole purpose, and it's stated in theirs as well, the purpose of the program is really to start to decrease the use of groundwater extraction. And so, whatever priority or whatever parameters we have to set around that, so that we're not have somebody come into the program that's not using groundwater, but we take advantage of the program. That's really not the goal. The goal is to actually reduce the use of groundwater. And then Pixley's has priority enrollment areas. I'm not sure we would have that. I think all of our areas are kind of a priority right now. And then it goes through post-enrollment land uses such as grazing, conversion to dry land uses, compatible commercial and public benefits, and then there's a payment framework. In talking to Travis, because it looked like they did their framework valued on the water, We were looking at doing it valued on land values. But in talking to Travis, they're doing both. So I don't know exactly how that works together yet. We're going to at some point have a more of a meeting, and we just talked about it in passing, really. So, but yeah, I think that I will send this out to you, and it is, this is the direction certainly that we've been trying to move to. Again, I think, funding is key, but having a program in place to go after funding is, step one. Because asking for funding all day long, if you don't have a program set that you're looking for funding for, it just doesn't get you anywhere. So
I think Kathy already touched on this, and Deanna, you certainly did. I think determining that value of that water/land value and how the compensation would be decided, I think that's really the key issue that we're looking for some input from this group.
Yeah, particularly for this 1 year program, which we kind of developed our 1 year program prior to getting the Pixley. So there may be some things that'll change. That's why I think the feedback from this group will be really key to how we move forward with the pilot project.
Yeah.
And just building off of that too, Amir, in the last Pixley GSA board meeting, they talked about they're going to contract Highland Economics, I believe, to help them to figure out that land value or like those values, that valuation system. So Deanna, I would talk to Travis about
yeah,
that as well.
yeah, that's good to know, because maybe we can share that cost and extend that. That would be good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nick. Is that all we
Yeah,
have,
I
Amir,
think,
today? Is that all we have for today, pretty much? I'm sorry.
yeah, that I was just gonna say, I think that's all we have for today. So if you're good, I think we can give everybody back a little bit of time on their day.
Yes.
Our next advisory committee meeting is on July 22nd at 10 a.m. And the Tri-County Board meeting for July 16th, that meeting has been canceled. And that our next meeting the next board meeting will be on August 6th at 1. So the July 16th meeting has been canceled, and the next board meeting is August 6th. So our next advisory committee meeting will happen right before the next board meeting, which is will be the 22nd here. And I think that's it, Deanna, for today.
I think so, and like I said, I'll get these out to you for your review, and probably prior to the meeting, we might even send some additional questions out so that we can have a really good discussion. We will base our next meeting around these land repurposing programs.
Perfect. Great. In that case, thank you, everyone. Appreciate you all being here, and we'll see you on the 22nd.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it.
Take care.